Sony to end physical disc for new PlayStation releases beginning in 2028 as gaming shifts fully online. The era of buying a brand new PlayStation game on a physical disc is officially coming to an end. Sony Interactive Entertainment has announced that beginning in January of 2028, all new games released for PlayStation consoles will be distributed exclusively in digital format. After that date, new titles will only be available through the PlayStation Store or as digital purchases from participating retailers, marking one of the biggest changes in the history of the gaming industry. Sony says the decision reflects changing consumer habits, noting that the overwhelming majority of PlayStation players already purchase their games digitally rather than on physical media. In a statement published on the official PlayStation blog, Sony explained that the move is a natural direction for the company as consumer preferences continue shifting toward digital purchases. According to Sony, digital media now significantly outpaces physical disc, and the company believes focusing entirely on digital distribution will better align with how most players access games today. The company also emphasized that games already released on disc, as well as titles scheduled to launch before January 2028, will continue to receive physical editions. The change only affects games released after the cutoff date. Sony's announcement marks the end of an era that began with the original PlayStation in 1994. For more than 3 decades, PlayStation games have been sold on physical media, starting with CDs before moving to DVDs and eventually Blu-ray disc. Collecting physical games has become an important part of gaming culture, with many players building shelves filled with box games, steelbooks, collector's editions, and limited releases. Beginning in 2028, however, those collections will no longer grow through newly released PlayStation games, as future titles will exist solely as digital downloads. But hey, you might get a digital steelbook. Although the announcement surprised many fans, Sony has been preparing for this transition for years. One of the clearest signs came in 2020 with the launch of the PlayStation 5. For the first time, Sony released two versions of its console, one equipped with an Ultra HD Blu-ray drive and a less expensive digital edition that lacked any disc drive. At the time, some gamers questioned whether consumers would embrace a console that could only play downloaded games, but the digital edition proved successful enough for Sony to continue supporting the concept. Sony reinforced that strategy with the redesigned PS5 Slim, which introduced a removable disc drive. Yeah, you had to pay, I think, $80 extra for it. Rather than requiring every console to include an optical drive, Sony made it an optional accessory that players could purchase separately. While the system still allowed users to play physical games if they bought the add-on drive, many industry analysts viewed the redesign as another step toward a future where physical media would become optional before eventually disappearing altogether. One of the primary reasons behind Sony's decision is the continued growth of digital sales. According to Sony's financial reports, approximately 80% of full game sales on PlayStation are now digital purchases. That figure has steadily increased over the last decade as broadband internet has become faster, storage capacities have grown larger, and digital storefronts have become the preferred shopping destination for millions of players worldwide. The financial benefits of digital distribution are also substantial. Every physical game requires manufacturing, printing, packaging, shipping, warehousing, and distribution before it reaches store shelves. Publishers must also account for unsold inventory, retailer discounts, and production costs that simply do not exist with digital releases. By selling video games exclusively through digital storefronts, Sony eliminates many of these expenses while keeping a larger share of every sale. Digital distribution also allows the company to launch games simultaneously around the world without worrying about shipping logistics or manufacturing delays. Another major advantage for Sony is greater control over pricing. Physical retailers have historically been free to discount games whenever they choose, often reducing prices shortly after launch. Digital storefronts, however, allow platform holders to determine exactly when games go on sale and by how much. This gives Sony much greater flexibility over pricing strategies while maintaining stronger profit margins over the lifetime of a game. The shift also reflects broader changes in how modern games are developed. Many of today's biggest releases are built around live service models that receive constant updates, downloadable content, seasonal events, and online features. Games such as Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, Apex Legends, and Call of Duty Warzone have demonstrated that millions of players are already comfortable downloading large games and receiving ongoing updates entirely through the internet. Even many traditional single player games now require substantial day one patches, meaning the disc often represents only part of the finished product. That doesn't make it right. Sony's expanding digital ecosystem has further reduced the importance of physical media. Services such now as PlayStation Plus now offer subscribers access to hundreds of downloadable games, cloud saves, online multiplayer, game trials, and cloud streaming. For many players, building a digital library through subscriptions has become more appealing than purchasing individual physical copies. Despite these advantages, Sony's announcement has sparked considerable criticism from collectors and consumer advocates. One of the biggest concerns centers on ownership. When purchasing a physical game, players receive a tangible product that can be displayed, traded, loaned to friends, or resold after completion. Digital purchases, by comparison, are licenses tied to an online account and generally cannot be transferred or resold. Many gamers worry that moving entirely to digital will permanently eliminate the used game market that has existed for decades. Preservation is another major concern. Historians and preservation groups have long argued that physical media plays an important role in ensuring games remain accessible decades after release. While modern games often require patches or online connectivity, physical discs can still provide an additional layer of preservation. Not as much as it used to. Critics fear that an all digital future increases the risk of games disappearing if licenses expire, storefronts close, or servers are eventually shut down. Internet accessibility remains another issue. Although broadband availability has improved dramatically, millions of players around the world still face slow internet speeds, monthly data caps, or unreliable connections. Downloading a modern game that exceeds 100 gigabytes may still take many hours, or even days in some regions. For those consumers, physical discs have remained a valuable alternative. Retailers are also likely to feel the impact of Sony's decision. Stores such as GameStop have historically relied on new game sales, used game trade ins, and pre owned software as major sources of revenue. Without new physical releases, one of the company's core businesses will gradually disappear. Retailers may instead focus more heavily on hardware, accessories, collectibles, gift cards, and digital download codes as the market transitions. Collector's editions are also expected to change significantly. While premium editions featuring statues, art books, steelbooks, and other collectibles will likely continue to exist, many may no longer include an actual game disc. Instead, buyers could receive a digital download code packaged alongside the physical collectibles, a practice that several publishers have already adopted in recent years. Sony's announcement arrives as the gaming industry continues moving steadily toward digital distribution. Microsoft has already embraced digital gaming through the Xbox Series X, Xbox Game Pass, and cloud gaming initiatives, while PC gaming has become almost entirely digital through platforms such as Steam and the Epic Games Store. Nintendo remains the largest supporter of physical media among the major console manufacturers, although even it has begun experimenting with download based distribution through game keycards for certain releases. Alongside ending physical game discs, Sony also confirmed plans to retire the PlayStation Store for the PlayStation 3 and Vita over the next year. I'll get to that also. Um, so, whether players welcome or oppose the decision, Sony's announcement represents one of the most significant shifts in console gaming since the introduction of downloadable games nearly 2 decades ago. Beginning in January of 2028, purchasing a brand new game, a PlayStation game on a Blu-ray disc will become a thing of the past. The future of PlayStation will exist entirely online, signaling the end of a physical format that helped define gaming for more than 30 years. For some players, the transition promises greater convenience and faster access to games. For others, it marks a loss of ownership, collecting, and preservation that physical media has represented since the original PlayStation first arrived on store shelves in 1994. Well, so what we so if you're upset by this, and many people are, and rightfully so, there's either two options: quit gaming on modern consoles and go back to retro, which actually may not sound so bad, which may not be such a bad idea if you really hate this new decision, or just deal with it. Um, now I've been not against digital downloads or digital distribution. I wouldn't say I was against it. I was against that being the only way to get new games. In 2022 and like 2023 even, I remember 2023 specifically, when I was doing the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast with Dr. Games 101, and I showed him all the games that I purchased that I got from money from friends and family for Christmas. There was no Xbox One games in there. This is 2023. There were no Xbox games. I didn't, or Xbox One games. I didn't renew my Game Pass. But what I did get was games for PlayStation 3, one of them anyway, Xbox game, and the rest of the games were for PlayStation and PlayStation 2. So, and one thing we do lose um, is this. See if so you can see it. Yeah, we lose this. Luckily, if you got disc like this, short of someone breaking in your house, uh, then then you're always going to have that game as long as, and you'll always be able to play it as long as you got electricity and the console still works and the game still works. So, and the thing is also another thing about, we've all done it. I don't think there's one gamer out there who has like an Xbox One or an Xbox or 360 even, or PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 who says they never got a digital game. They never paid for one. And yes, if you were just a member of Xbox Live and enjoying the free downloads every month, that counts too because you were paying for Xbox Live. You were getting the free games through digital. So, unfortunately, the thing is, there's no way to, people are fearing, and rightfully so, that games could be taken away once licenses expire. That's a real possibility also. Like I said, you're not taking Batman the Brave and the Bold for the Wii away unless you come into my house and take it. I can put that in my Wii U, even though it's a regular original Wii game, and play as much as I want. Um, so that's also a problem. Also, your account could be hacked, and then it could do something that's against terms of service. And then if the developer believes you were at fault, then sucks for you, I guess. And you could end up losing your whole account, any digital game purchases that you had. And honestly, that's why I want to talk about going back to retro. Now, I don't believe enough people are going to do this. I don't believe enough people are going to do this where I don't believe enough people are going to do this where it's going to cause a dent in PlayStation. And honestly, Xbox and Nintendo, they're going to follow suit too. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. But I think this is still gonna help PlayStation be profitable for PlayStation. Maybe not as profitable, but I still think it's gonna be enough where this doesn't look like it's something they have to reverse course in. But there's also something else I want to talk about. When I said going back to retro, many games that many consoles that came out in the past, Nintendo 64, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Sega CD, and so on. How many games of those do we actually know? What I mean is, the Nintendo 64, I'll use that example. In North America, 288 games were released for the Nintendo 64 total. Total. Good games, bad games, whatever. How many of you could probably even name 29 of the 288? Um, I'll try it. And like I said, this is good, bad, whatever, as long as it came out on the N64 in North America. Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, WCW vs. NWO World Tour, WCW vs. NWO Revenge, WWF WrestleMania 2000, WWF No Mercy, Mario Party 1, 2, and 3, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, GoldenEye 007, so we're at 11 so far. Um, let's see, Perfect Dark, that's 12. Um, what else? NFL Quarterback Club 98. If they came out on N64 in North America, it counts. 13. Jeremy McGrath Supercross 2000, All-Star Baseball 99, and Conker's Bad Fur Day. That's 6. That brings it up to 16. Quest 64, that's 17. Destruction Derby 64, that's 18. Um, Turok Dinosaur Hunter 19. I think Turok 2 Seeds of Evil also had an N64 port, so that's 20. Beetle Adventure Racing, that's 21. Extreme G, and I think San Francisco Rush 2049 also came out on the N64, so that's 23. Um, so what else? Just 5 games away. Battle Tanks Global Assault, that's 25. Just 4 more. Um, Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, even though it's a terrible game, 26. Uh, did I say Beetle Adventure Racing? I don't think I did. 27. Come on, there's 2 more. I'll just WCW Nitro 28 and Wetrix 29. There you go. You see how hard that was? That's the point, though. You see how hard that was, and how many games I had to include just to get to 29 when there's 288 out there. The point I'm making is, if you're gonna go back to retro, which might not be so hard, which might not be such a bad idea, especially if finances are a big problem. There's many games out there for consoles that we haven't played. Why not try out those? I found some great games that I never even knew came out. Um, I'll go back to this Apocalypse on PlayStation. You know how I found out about this game? I found it at a garage sale for the original PlayStation. Awesome game. Unfortunately, can't get past the final boss, but that's beside the point. So, maybe just go and with game reviews also, not being as obscure as they used to be on YouTube and maybe even other websites. You can find out almost a review on any past game and see if it's worth your trouble or not. And just yeah, just randomize like an N64 game name. Maybe use ChatGPT or Gemini just to suggest an N64 game. Maybe using artificial intelligence is better than just suggesting one randomly. Um, and then pull up a review on it and see how much it goes for online. You could continue gaming that way, and like I said, with hundreds of games, the NES had like almost 800 in North America, the N64 had 288 in North America. That's many games not just to look through and research and find reviews on, but many games that just we never knew about when they came out because they didn't have enough money for a commercial or whatever. So yeah, if you really hate this digital future that PlayStation is heading towards, and I believe Microsoft and Nintendo will also head towards, maybe going retro is the way to go.